having in mind the performance of Bulgaria in the past and in the present, Bulgaria is fit for this kind of chairmanship because if somebody is able to master, to absorb European funds, it is able to master basically everything. Because probably there is no more challenge than to get money from Brussels with all our conditions and caveats and so on. So if you have these capacities, these abilities, you are able to take every challenge in the world. Indeed, President Plevneev has an outstanding record in this, and the whole government with Prime Minister Borisov on top. And therefore, I have no doubts that Bulgaria can be once again a stabilizing factor for the whole region. The European Union is still accounting for 23% of the global economy and nearly for 50% of global social expenditure, with only roughly 7% of the world's population. And this after a challenging enlargement of from 12 to now 28 members in the past 20 years. And this in front of the background of the worst economic crisis since 80 years. Coming, as it was said, from the private sector, I am still convinced that a merger of this magnitude and this heterogeneity in the private sector would have been a failure. I think this is something Europe can be proud with all the problems we are facing today, and it would be ridiculous to ignore this. But having in mind that only 20 years ago there were 12 member states being rather homogeneous in their structures, and now we have 28 with this kind of heterogeneity. Once again, in business life would be nearly a 100% guarantee for failure, for bankruptcy. And so far, and I hope it stays, we managed this project called European project. So the European Union has not only managed this merger, but also stabilized Europe and has not lost its attractiveness. We believe we are not so attractive, but you can witness it every day, having the refugees at the border, how attractive apparently Europe is and how attractive this kind of soft power for many, many people, millions of people outside Europe is. The topic of today and the core challenge of the European Union remains, of course, the refugee crisis. Almost 60 million people are displaced worldwide, and probably this is at the lower end of the, so to say, range. There are some estimations that we are talking about couples of 100 millions of people who are migrants or possible migrants. And nearly 20 million of these, at least 60 million people, are in Europe's immediate neighborhood. This is therefore not a European problem. This is a global challenge which puts the European Union to the test. Against the background of the magnitude of the challenge, no country in the world can tackle this challenge on its own. And due to its geographical position, Europe is particularly exposed to it. We have to work closely together to deal with this crisis. So, very simply, either we swim together or we sink separately. That is why I welcome the renewed commitment between governments along the Western Balkan routes in October 2015 to provide both short-term assistance and more structured long-term support to migrants and refugees. I am aware that the delay in European decision-making and national agendas has an actual impact on the region. And I really urge all European leaders to take the necessary decisions. When we are, for instance, talking about reinforcing the external border protection, It's not time to take the decision only in June this year. It should already be done in the next Council, February, March. There is no time to waste. It's time to decide, to act, to show leadership. But I think one could be assured that we do everything, and I'm as a commissioner for the region, if you allow to qualify myself like this, we will take care that the Southeast European region will not become the parking lot for migrants which would like to move forward to other European countries and where they have decided to close the borders. We have to address this issue in a common spirit, in a way to be clear that this is a European problem and everybody has to show solidarity.